Hey, come on over. Mom's not home till 6, and we're exploring the TV shows, movies, and pop culture media that made us all turn down the volume so our parents wouldn't hear. We're going to build our intimacy literacy and dig into all the weird messages we took from pop culture about sex, relationships, and ourselves. Because, let's be honest, this was all the sex ed we got. Today, we are discussing Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, the 90s broadcast. We're watching episode 9 of season 4, Love Means Having to Say You're Sorry. I'm joined by Teenage Witch at heart, Veronica Dress. She's a sexuality educator, coach, and intimacy director for stage and screen. Veronica, hello.
Indeed. Hi. And I am joined by your familiar's favorite familiar, Blair Somerville, relationship therapist specializing in gender, sexuality, and intimacy. And you don't know this, dear viewer, but most of the time, Blair's cats are circling them in all of our conversations because their magnetic magic is just that irresistible to the feline amongst us. So
that's true.
I'm just so honored to be here with you, chatting about a cinematic classic.
A defining show of our age group, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yes, it absolutely was. Now, before we get into today's episode, because this is our special Thanksgiving holiday treat bonus episode, and I will say we need to have maybe insert a little disclaimer at the beginning of this episode by discussing the topic and rituals related to the American Feast of Thanksgiving does not mean that we endorse the concept of Thanksgiving as a holiday.
No, not at all.
And here we are discussing Sabrina the Teenage Witch's Thanksgiving episode. Were you a Sabrina fan? Take me to your general relationship with this piece of media.
I was a big Sabrina fan. I followed the show. I played the video games when they came out. What was interesting, though, is that I found rewatching it for this that I recalled shockingly little details about the actual show. Like the theme song, the little intro, I did not remember a single thing about that. It shocked me. I was frankly disappointed by how bland the little intro song is.
Thank you for bringing this up, Blair, because I had the same experience. I am very jingle sensitive, as you know.
Very jingle attuned.
I absorb a little hook like nobody's business. And when they did that intro, I was like, did someone design this on a Windows 95 computer?
Yeah,
and
I think so.
And not edit a single thing about it? They were like, no, it's the future, so let's just have it be bubbles popping and
There's bubbles.
No lyrics.
Someone's whispering secret repeatedly, but that's like the only words.
Yeah. It makes no sense because this concept is rife with possibility for a jingle. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I completely blacked out and didn't know it either, so I'm glad I'm not the only one. I, too, was a huge Sabrina fan. I remember watching it with my mom and sister a lot on TGI Friday, or TGIF, which was ABC's Friday evening, like young, hip, cool, fun, fresh programs for the youth of America.
I remember that.
It happened, right? It happened, I think Boy Meets World was also in the lineup. It was peak 90s in a really delicious way. And I, even watching it now, was making all of these connections. I was like, wait, my home aesthetic is really just trying to create the house in Sabrina. I think that's what I've been doing subconsciously this whole time. I want my bedroom to be Sabrina's bedroom. That stained glass, forget it.
The stained glass. Incredible. And I also was surprised just how quickly things move. Like, there's almost no intro and we're already in, and they don't introduce, like, this is Sabrina. This is Sabrina's, like, aunts.
Nope.
Like, you're just in it. But
Exactly right.
give us our little summary of what happened in this episode.
While we, dear listener, were able to just jump right into the deep end of this episode as Sabrina heads with that past context, if this is not your show, I will give you the general spiel. So Sabrina the Teenage Witch was aired in, I believe, 1996 and was a TV show based on the comics of the same name and starred Melissa Joan Hart as Sabrina, who on her 16th birthday learns that she has magical powers. And she lives with her 600-year-old aunts, Hilda and Zelda, and their magical talking cat, Salem. It is based in this fictional town in Massachusetts, and really, it goes on for 7 seasons. Really, it is your classic teenage sitcom, except she is also figuring out how to do magic. She is figuring out how to navigate this kind of secret part of her life and how to kind of square that with her social connections with mortals, which we'll see a bit of in today's episode. And really, it's just delightful hijinks. They have a closet, I believe it's supposed to be their laundry room upstairs, that they enter and exit into some witch realm, and it's a delight and just a grand old time. It's very 90s. The style is filled with crushed velvet and funky little spiky hairdos for everyone involved. And Salem the cat is a puppet and a national treasure.
Yeah.
So today's episode pops us honestly like right in the middle of the series, like very much smack dab in the middle. It's season 4, episode 9, like you said, Blair. And what happens, they give you, like you said, no background whatsoever into what happened the last episode. You really drop into the thick of things, which it turns out Sabrina was caught by her boyfriend Harvey while kissing another guy on the front. I know, on the front steps of her aunt's house. I don't know that we really, it's not worth figuring out why they were kissing. Who the hell knows? But she starts the episode pining for Harvey. So Harvey and Sabrina are together for a good chunk of this whole series. They break up later on, and then I think the final episode, spoilers, they end up reuniting at the very end. I think even when she's in college is when that happens. But for this episode, we see that Sabrina is trying to think of ways to get Harvey to forgive her for kissing this other guy. And she was hoping, it seems like in the beginning of the episode, that once they see each other in school, they'd realize they missed each other, they'd talk, they'd realize the error of their ways and get back together. But unfortunately, Harvey has already started seeing this other girl, Colette.
Yeah.
In fact, he has crossed into one of their most intimate rituals, which is apparently he steals condiments at lunch off of her tray, which is emotional. It's emotional. And what really seals the deal for Sabrina is that she hears that Harvey is going to be spending Thanksgiving with this new girl's family. And the aunts, one of the fun, quirky things about Hilda and Zelda is that they truly don't know anything about mortal customs. And so Thanksgiving is not really the vibe, specifically since the Puritans also burnt witches at the stake. So kind of a touchy subject. So normally Sabrina goes to Harvey's. And so the aunts undertake trying to make a Thanksgiving meal for Sabrina to cheer her up. And it goes wildly awry. I'm curious for you, Blair, hearing how Sabrina is navigating this whole episode of trying to get Harvey to forgive her. What do you think goes well for our sweet, sweet teenage witch?
I actually was really surprised. Like, I think it is a repeating theme for Sabrina that she looks for a magical solution to her problems, and then the magic always makes things worse, and then it turns out she needed to just kind of talk about things with someone or address them directly or just study or whatever the thing is. And I was sort of surprised that they were really consistent in this one too, that like, no, she actually just kind of has to take accountability that she hurt Harvey's feelings and she has to talk to him about it. Like she tries a couple things to get out of it, including like going back in time to not kiss the guy and instead just hug him. And Harvey is still hurt because she lied about being sick and that was why she couldn't see him that day. And so he's still very hurt and upset that she betrayed him, and she has no way out of just admitting that she lied and hurt his feelings, and she has to say she's sorry.
Yeah, it's a very Full House-esque approach to storytelling from a sitcom perspective, right? It's very, here's the lesson, we're going to beat you over the head with it, but the hijinks along the way really make for a fun romp. We have so many approaches she tries to take to do anything but just directly ask for like forgiveness from Harvey, right? She has this weird whiteboard where she tries out different conversations, which I love. Where she like writes what Harvey might say and what she might say and then see how it plays out. Salem the cat is really beside himself that she and Harvey have broken up. It has been difficult on him. He says he wishes, or he suspected that he would be Harvey's best man at the wedding. And it's so cute.
Yeah. Salem loves Harvey. And I guess, so I'm curious, what is your opinion about Harvey overall as a romantic lead for Sabrina?
I don't really get it, but he's fine. I think he seems to be a really goofy dude. And I know that there is something of that time period of like the leading guy being like a little silly, a little slapstick comedy-y, and maybe even like a little, he's not stupid, but he's kind of dumb. Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like he's a little early foray into the realm that would come to be known as himbos. Do you know?
Tell me about himbos.
So you don't know this term? So
I know it, but I want to hear you describe it to me.
Okay, so to me, my understanding of a himbo is it is a man who is conventionally very attractive, usually like physically strong, muscular, or kind of a jock figure, which Harvey, I think, is on the football team. He's on some kind of sports team,
yes.
I think. He respects women and is very open about his feelings, but he is also not particularly smart. That is a himbo. And I think Harvey is all of those things. He's very earnest about his feelings throughout the episode.
He is. And even there's this one shenanigan that she gets up to where her friend, who is also a witch, is trying to intervene on Sabrina's behalf, because when they gave each other back their box of CDs, Hootie and the Blowfish, of course. And after they walk away from each other, the friend sees that Harvey kept Sabrina's picture in his locker. Yeah. And so she had hope that perhaps he did still have feelings for her. So this friend gets a literal thermometer that she changes the temperature on to make Harvey hotter or cooler, because Sabrina says that she wants someone who's cooler than Harvey. Really, she just wants Harvey, and she's just trying to talk herself out of it. As they mess with Harvey's demeanor, there's this moment where he is hot-headed and is about to like beat this kid up, but then when he comes back to his normal self, his normal temperature, he's so sweet and it's like, I'm sorry, you forgot your Pokemon card. Yeah. And it's so sweet. He's just like a tender little guy.
He is. Yeah. Yeah, I like Harvey. And I did think it was really interesting, the implication, like Sabrina, when she's coping, she does say, like, I actually realize I need a cooler boyfriend. I need someone who's cool. And when in college, and when her friend does the spell to make Harvey like cool in a semi-literal sense with a thermometer, the way he changes to reflect that now he's a cool guy is that he's kind of a jackass, and he puts on a leather jacket and he starts being mean to Sabrina and standoffish. Brina. Yeah, he makes up this little nickname for her. And I thought that was really interesting, that the show takes a stance that the way that masculinity is like mainstream cool is actually not good. And women don't like that, seems to be what the show is saying.
Yes. The show has a very female gaze point of view to everything it does, right? Like it's Sabrina and the aunts and her girl best friends. Harvey, I think, is the only guy besides Salem the cat that we really see, except for this random Josh dude who I don't know how long he's in the picture. I forget.
Very
And
brief.
so it does feel really refreshed. I felt refreshed. Just seeing that take that, oh, him being cooler is not what we want either. Being cooler, TM, is not being connected or authentic or in touch with one's feelings. It's actually pretty disconnected and disembodied and keeps people from what they truly want, right? Like, even if Harvey does have feelings for Sabrina, which we find out he does, when he's cool Harvey, he can't communicate those because that wouldn't be cool. Having feelings isn't cool. Or so we're taught.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, like, in a show that is aimed at, I think, adolescent girls largely, it is very clear that, this is what we all understand cool to be, but it sucks. And we don't, nobody likes it, actually.
Like it.
How did it get to be cool if nobody actually likes it?
It's a very Goldilocks situation, right? Isn't that Goldilocks who like goes and tries out all the bears' beds? It feels like this thermometer is the scale of masculinity and how it is appropriately, according to society, expressed. Because he's either too cool, where he's not connected to his feelings and he's not sharing what he really wants with Sabrina, or when they put him on the hot end of the scale, he's hot-headed and he's expressive, but the only thing he is allowed to express is anger. And so to me, it really does, to your point, highlight how thin the spectrum is of space where a Harvey Kinkle can exist and maintain his earnestness and his sweetness, but also be accepted culturally because he's a jock, right? Like he has enough of that prescriptive masculinity that allows him to be accepted and to be seen, like to even be in the running for leading man, but he still manages to be an earnest little bean. It's so sweet.
Yeah, like when we have a moment in the show where Sabrina is eavesdropping on Harvey telling Colette that actually this isn't working out and he doesn't want to go to her Thanksgiving. And the way he says this to Colette is he says, this relationship doesn't feel that comfortable to me. So I can't keep doing this.
I know.
And I
thought that
Harvey?
phrasing was so interesting.
Yes. I was like, that's so sweet and clear and direct without being like critical or blaming anybody really. And like it felt very mature for a teenager to say something like that to someone. And she also took it pretty well. She was like, is this just about Sabrina? And he said, not really. I don't know if I could forgive her or not, but I'm not comfortable with our relationship. So I need it.
And he acknowledges, like, I do love her and I miss her, but I don't know that I can forgive her. And that amount of nuance and to be communicated so clearly and effectively from the mouth of a teenager in a sitcom is very different, I think.
Yeah.
But if we zoom out to that very specific style of sitcom or time frame of sitcom, I feel like that does seem a little bit like Boy Meets World too, where there's lots of foibles that happen throughout, but when the deep conversation is supposed to be happening, they can articulate things like this. But I don't know that directness is something that I am used to seeing.
No.
I also thought the word comfortable was an interesting one to use.
Say more. What interests you about the word comfortable there?
I think it is something that it wouldn't be in my top 10 descriptors of what I am wanting for people in their relationships is like to be comfortable. But ultimately, that is something that we want, right? It's not one of the jazzier descriptors. And still, if someone cannot turn to someone for comfort, or they don't feel comfortable or at ease around them, then that is a big deal, because the world is filled with relationships that we can't be our fullest selves in. And so when we find people that we get to choose who to spend our time with, it is really, I think, important that it be people that we can be comfy with and feel like our most authentic us gets to come out, and know that we don't have to be as self-conscious as maybe we are in other moments in our day. And I think to hear someone say that they're not comfortable with something, I'm used to hearing it in the context of feeling unsafe, or that something is not a moral good. I'm not used to hearing it said from that perspective of, oh no, this just doesn't feel quite right. This doesn't feel comfortable to me.
Yeah.
As like a value that he is seeking out. That felt different to me.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think you're right. It is really interesting that he's saying it from a very, like, I guess positive or like pleasure focused thing. Like, I need to, not that a negative needs to be missing, but I need this positive to be present. And I'm not comfortable. Like, I don't necessarily feel bad. He doesn't say, like, you make me anxious, or this makes me uncomfortable, or this upset me. It's just like, yeah, there's just some little piece here that isn't quite fitting for me, that doesn't add up to make me feel as nice as I want to feel in a relationship. And so it's not working.
Yeah, absolutely. And to know that nuance of I can miss and love someone, and also know that something perhaps irreparable has happened from my perspective, and that it doesn't, that all of that can exist at once. And I know Sabrina is quite literally hiding in the bushes, eavesdropping on this conversation. And that is really what sets her. Is that what sets her down her magic spiral? Or it like really
She had already, I think it heightened it. She was already trying to figure out, how can I talk to Harvey or get him to forgive me or move on without just saying that I'm sorry.
Right. Exactly. Because she's avoiding discomfort.
She sure is.
And so she keeps, and I love the parenting style of the aunts, that they are very much an anchor for her and a sounding board, and they're going to share what their teachable moment is. And they still know how important it is for her to go forth and try things out and fail and learn through experience, rather than just relying on what they tell her. Like they get that is what she should be doing, even though it is hard to watch. And then meanwhile, they are just having a grand old time being kooky. They have brought these pilgrims to the home because they are like, I am so grossed out at the idea of making a turkey and sticking my hand inside of it that let's just outsource. Let's just whip up some pilgrims and they can make it for us. Of course, the pilgrims are calling them witches because they are, and it's a whole thing. You know, there's a lot of very 90s comments made from a Thanksgiving witches, puritans, pilgrims perspective. That are something.
Something. You know, it sure is something. And they did not have any questions about the issues with Thanksgiving as a holiday, or the pilgrims, or colonialism. None of those conversations were happening on Sabrina at this time.
No. Which is interesting, because they are saying, you know, you burned women at the stake. I don't want to celebrate this. And yet don't make the connection that the indigenous people were genocided, right?
Yeah.
Because she even says the pilgrims are being all angsty about something. They don't want to listen to the cat, maybe, because Salem is using this as an opportunity to wield power and make them give him gravy, which is adorable. And the ants are calling them scaredy cats because they are just terrified of every newfangled invention. And she says something.
Yeah, she said something like, for
people who cross the ocean, and
fought Indians is how she phrased it.
Thank you. Fought. Fought Indians. You're sure scaredy cats. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting that you are
Hilda.
framing it. Hilda.
That's not what happened, girl. Not quite it.
Yeah. I know. Y'all are like these 600. I mean, you lived through it. You were there.
Yeah. 600 years old? Surely they knew.
Right.
They witnessed something.
It don't make no sense.
It doesn't.
I didn't care for that. And do you know who one of those pilgrims was?
No. I
realized halfway through. It was the dad in Reba's sitcom.
Oh my God.
Brock? Is his name Brock?
Crossover.
No, maybe not.
I don't know.
Yeah. He's like the football-loving dad, ex-husband in Reba, played one of the pilgrims. You just couldn't tell because he had on a sensible bob under his pilgrim's hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Puritan number 2.
Yeah. And then, we go forth and Sabrina eventually gives up on all her magic. And when she is not trying to control the situation, she happens to be at her locker and quite literally bumps into Harvey and says sorry because she bumped into him. But it is a domino. It's like, that's the magic word at the end of it all, Blair. The most magic word, the most magic spell you can cast is sorry. Yeah. And we have a montage of the two of them just apologizing for so many things that they had not communicated about before. And I think it's really lovely and sweet and also very much a departure from what I feel like any other cheating, breakup, makeup scene I have seen doesn't involve so much mutuality in the apologizing. Yeah. And so that was adorable. And also, I have a question of if we believe that Sabrina went back in time and changed it so that she just hugged this guy and Harvey still got upset and said, you don't look sick to me. So I guess maybe she lied to Harvey and said that she wasn't feeling well. I'm kind of surprised that his reaction was as intense still. Yeah. When she was just hugging another dude outside of her house.
I mean, I think, it was a little much. I think that is where we get a little bit of the 90s, like, normalized possessiveness that, like, you can't even have mixed gender friendships. It's not appropriate if you're in a romantic relationship. There's a little of that in there. And also they're teenagers at the end of the day. There's that too. Ugh. Big feelings.
Don't be logical, Blair.
But you're right. I am really interested. I think that was really cool that Sabrina starts apologizing. They have all these apologies back and forth. She does say, I'm so sorry that, like, I lied to you about being sick. And then you saw me with Josh on the porch. And he does also say, and I'm sorry that I wasn't really prioritizing our relationship and we weren't really getting much quality time. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, he says that he was spending too much time with the guys.
Yeah, with the boys.
And I, having not recently seen the other episodes, I can't speak to that. To your larger point of that 90s possessiveness, like what we see glorified, or at least the messages I got, was you find your partner and then that's how you spend your time. And then maybe every 3 episodes you see a hangout with a friend and we as the audience are supposed to infer that means the friendship hangs have been happening all along and we just haven't been seeing them. But at the same time, it feels the insular nature of romantic relationships was very much put on a pedestal in the 90s. And so when our friends, at least I know, when our friends would get their first partner, there was often a lot of like clunkiness in the friend group because they would go into love jail and we wouldn't see them for large chunks of time. And while that makes sense, right? Like the honeymoon phase of a new relationship is quite literally a drug. We didn't have any real conversations that validated that gut feeling that there had to be another way, that you could have thriving friendships and community and goals and while still being in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Sabrina's really showing us a ton of that.
No, yeah, I think the show does go all in on when you have a partner, that's your thing now. You have a partner and that's it. That's like your whole identity. And I don't know that they quite said this, but they sort of veered toward the implication that like if your partner cheats, there is some degree of that is your responsibility because you made them unhappy with the relationship. And they didn't go super hard on that. And it's really interesting because there is some, I don't know. Obviously, we're all responsible for our own behavior and our own decision making. And I do think there's something
here's
to
the
be
thing, Blair,
said.
That's not obvious to a lot of people. That is not obvious.
True. I guess that's true. A lot of people do seem to think they're not responsible for their own behavior. And that's one of the problems nowadays, but just one of them. And I think there is something to be said for taking some accountability that, like, the relationship had become somewhat dissatisfying, and I can see the role I played in that, like in not meeting your relational needs anymore. And also, that does not justify or excuse breaking the relationship agreements unilaterally to just do whatever you feel like.
Yeah. Spoiler, they're not having conversations about relationship agreements in 90s Sabrina, unfortunately.
No, they're not.
Right. When I say that I'm your boyfriend, I mean this set of expectations, right? That's that ain't happening, which is kind of kooky because I imagine that witches have a very modern and expansive view of community and
you would think
sexuality and romance, but perhaps Sabrina hasn't gotten to that conversation with the ants just yet.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we'll see that in a later episode of Sabrina, but in this one, it's all monogamy all day. Once you have a partner, that's who you are. And yeah, you better do everything you can to make the relationship satisfying. And if your partner is not happy, it's your fault.
Here are the things I did enjoy. I enjoyed that Sabrina, Melissa Joan Hart, looked like a teenager.
Yeah.
Just like straight up looked like a teenager. Had freckles that one could see.
Yeah. There was a lot, like
I
a lot of the teenagers seemed much more like teenagers than any, like we watched Euphoria for our regular season. And
yeah,
those teenagers do not particularly look like teenagers at all.
Yeah. So that was refreshing to me. I loved Salem. I think let's be honest, I watched this show for Salem.
Salem's great. Honest. I like Salem. Well, who doesn't love a cat puppet?
Love a cat puppet. Love a cat puppet who talks. I love his love of savory treats. I love his hijinks that he gets into in the pursuit of savory treats.
And power.
I also love that and power. And I love that he expresses his feelings. It cracks me up. So yeah, I think that those were really the wins. And I think the most controversial thing to me in the whole of the show happens in the final scene, in which Salem is so excited and it's just for yams. Like, if you're talking Thanksgiving food, to me, yams are like,
Yams. I mean, I don't know. We're in the South, Veronica, and a sweet potato casserole is something else. It's good. With the marshmallows, they reference the mini marshmallows as well. It's a dessert, but it's good. And
if it were given to me as a dessert, I would enjoy it. But I don't think it belongs on the main table. I said it.
I disagree. I disagree. I will keep putting it on my main table, and I will keep eating my dessert as my main dish, which is my right as an American.
Oh, no. And on that note, I think my mom's almost home, so I should probably go.
On that note, it's probably time for us to wrap up. Once we start talking about our American rights, that's a good sign that it's time to go.
Cut to commercial. Cut to
commercial. Thank you for joining us for our Thanksgiving bonus episode. We hope you enjoy a Puritan-free meal with your loved ones that is not celebrating colonialism, but instead celebrating perhaps your values and your loved ones and love in your life.
Bye!
Bye! Thank you so much for joining us today on Mom's Not Home Till 6. Leave us a rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you found us. Pitch us your alternate ending or send suggestions to momsnothome till6@gmail.com, spelled with no punctuation and the numeral 6. You can find more from us by following us on Instagram at Mom's Not Home Till 6 or on Blue Sky at Mom's Not Home. Find more from Veronica by following her on Instagram at The Dress Rehearsal, or support the podcast financially on Patreon at The Dress Rehearsal. We'd like to extend our gratitude to the queer and trans communities, past and present, who've made it possible to be the people we are today, and to you for listening. Now be sure to change that TV channel back to something appropriate before Mom gets home, and we'll catch you next time.